gold medal as well.
Right.
But I wasn't concerned about medals because medals never really turned me. That's just like the carrot.
Right.
You know, they put the carrot in front of me and they sneak it out the back door with the loot. So it wasn't about the medal. It was about you had to win a medal to get on the victory stand. I went to Mexico City primarily to make some sort of statement to let them know I was disenchanted about what was happening in society, and I was even more disenchanted that we couldn't come together as a unified stance against prejudice and racism and bias in this society. You know, many individuals felt like it was extremely important for them to go to the games. I thought about not going to the games, merely because I felt it was the right thing, which was in my conscious mind about this bias that we have in society. But I felt like at the same time, God touched my brain and made me realize that if I didn't go to the Olympic Games, someone would go in my place to represent John Carlos as well as the United States. But I don't think that they would represent John Carlos in the sense that John Carlos would have liked to have been represented. So it was imperative that I go to the games and exceed on to the victory stand. By the grace of God, we made it. We accomplished our goal. But it's all about giving people a thought process. You know, give them a shock treatment.
Yeah.
And primarily that's what it was in Mexico City, to shock people into thought. Why would they sacrifice that?
Right.
You know, how many people in the world did they reach with that statement? You know, this is why it's been so long for Hollywood to do this movie, because that symbol is just as potent today as it was 49 years ago.
Right.
So they don't want to wake people up and make them realize that we can win this war. And we don't have to throw bombs and we don't have to be violent, but we have to use our minds to win this chess game that we're in.
Right. So that's it. The Black Power fist. They try to vilify that, but we know that it means something else.
Well, you know, when you sit back, you think about Black Power. It's the synonyms that's used. Black Power.
Right.
So when they think about power, they think about destruction, mayhem, and chaos. But when I think about power, I think about power of minds, individuals coming together to make a very powerful force, a very powerful statement. And if black people was to ever come together as a nucleus, imagine what we could have did in this society in the last 50 years.
Right.
Based on our history. If baseball players, football players, basketball players, dancers, singers, all the movie entertainment, with the money that we've made in these industries, if we was to come together unified and say we have a problem, but we can solve the problem and can't nobody solve our problem for us but us.
Right.
We can do a tremendous amount of things. But if I remember when I was a kid in grade school, you know, if you was in my class, they would say, John, when you do this test today, make sure you cover up because we don't rob to see what you're doing. Now, you know, so it leads me to believe that this is something that was taught to us from a young kid. Don't have no reliance in your brother. Don't try and help your brother to succeed.
Yeah, crabs in a bucket kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, and I feel like that's something that we're trying to break out of, but it seems, the efforts seem kind of futile sometimes, you know, so it's frustrating.
Well, it seems futile because when you sit back and you think about the forces that you're dealing with, I mean, we don't have the money that they have. We don't have the industries that they have. We don't own the banks. We don't own the housing industry. We don't own the Board of Education. So, you know, everything that we're fighting against was basically structured through slavery.
Right.
As we were being enslaved, they were building all these mega corporations and mega companies and mega education. So what do we have but ourselves to make this connection? But it's a matter of, like you said earlier, about having inner strength in yourself to say, hey, man, I will not let you deter me from where I'm going in life.
Right. So, basically, so the key, and like I said, I like to get insight from people who walk the walk, you know, and, from generations past, because we don't know where we're going unless we know where we've been.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the key that I'm getting is togetherness, unity, right?
Right.
And ownership.
And ownership.
So,
you know, when you sit back and think about economics, you know, economics is the thing that make change.
right.
You know, when we talked about, you know, the Alabama, Mississippi, and all the boycotts that they had down there, boycotts was one thing. But when it all trickled down to the point we say boycott has stopped the economic flow, that's what brought them to the table. The fact that those young individuals said they won't play football, that economics brought the president down. It wasn't me getting up with a sign and me speaking. It was those young football players saying that we won't play, and they brought the calculator out. So when you talk about economics, That's the thing that makes any individual come and sit down to the table here in the United States, because the United States is based on capital gain.
Mm-hmm.
This is a capitalistic society in which we live.
Yep, from slavery on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.